Well, for more information, we're joined here in the studio by our colleague Wassim Nasr. Wassim, what's the latest that you have gathered about the situation on the ground there?
We can say that despite the huge campaign of bombardment all over the region, and despite the ongoing fighting on some points, we can say today that this attack conducted by the Syrian army is still limited. And this is footage I got this morning from a rebel faction who is fighting in the northern Hama region. I got many other footage that we might be able to see, and we see that despite the bombardment, the heavy bombardment, we see that the moves on the ground are still limited. Even the counter-offensive, this is a jihadi faction that is joined the combat this morning. This footage is from this morning, I have to say it, and we see that HTS, which is the major group in this region, just supported the attack of some jihadi factions and some other rebel factions with fire, but not by putting in its own soldiers. And if we look at what's happened this morning, they made a counter-offensive in the town of Kfar Nabuda that we just saw, and fighting is still ongoing in this town, but still limited fighting. We're talking about soldiers on the ground. It is still very limited in losses and in the intensity of the fight. So this is why people on the ground, civilians or military or jihadis, are saying that this is not going to go a lot further than this. Even there was an announcement of creating a united commanding office for all the factions in Idlib, which also failed. From the side of the rebels. We have to know also that the Russians are involved by from the air, by bombing, also contributing in the campaign from the air, but also in mortar fire and in intelligence on one axe, which is the axe of Karnabuda and the Qal'at al-Madiq, which were lost by the rebels.
Okay, so Russia's involved in the skies, on the ground, as of course are the Syrian troops. Another power that's very much involved in developments in that particular region of Syria is Turkey. Tell us what their role is.
Yes, of course. A lot was said about Turkey being opposed to this campaign. But if you look at this map now, we can see all the observation points that well, we can see them.
I can see them on the screen.
We can see the observation the Turkish observation points here in blue. The red is the Russian observation points, and the orange are Iranian observation points. And we see where we have the explosion at Kfar Nabuda is the only axe where the Syrian army is attacking. So between observation points. And I was told by witnesses on the ground that Turkish convoys to change soldiers on the observation points were, for example, halted or stayed on the side of the road when Russian planes were attacking. And people there think that Turkey was aware of this oncoming or ongoing today attack by Russian and Syrian forces. And we know too that all the factions that are on the Turkish payroll on this region, they did not join the fight. We know too that Turkey is building a wall here to prevent refugees from coming from Idlib to the region of Afrin, and some announcement made by the Turkish army, some bombardment of Kurdish factions here happened, but nothing against the Syrian army, nothing against the Russian, of course, because we think or we know that this is all going with the green light of Turkey, unable to contain HTS or other jihadi groups in Idlib. So this is like a concerted attack in order for some locals to respond on numerous attacks which targeted the Mayhem airport, the Russian Mayhem airport. So it's going to stay limited. Turkey is okay with it, and it's not going to go any further if we believe what sources on the ground are telling us.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for that. Wassim Nasr, thank you so much indeed.